Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us for our fourth event in our 2021 Seed Series. I'm Mike Long. I'm a member of Sustainable Essex. And before we go any farther, I'd just like to acknowledge that we would not be able to deliver the range of programming with this series that we have been able to do without the generosity of all of our donors in the greater Essex community, especially our harvest level donors. I also wanted to acknowledge the support of the Sustainable Connecticut Community Match Fund and the financial support of our community, and that community match fund it's really been crucial to our ability to deliver this important programming to Essex and to the whole Lower River Valley community. So thanks for all of that. Joining us today is artist and environmental advocate Kate Hare. I'll share some more information about Kate in just a couple of moments, but a couple of logistical issues before we begin. We are recording this session and will request that everyone remain on mute throughout the presentation. This will help limit any background noise, etc. During the presentation, please feel free to post any questions you might have to chat. You can get to chat by simply clicking on the chat button at the bottom of your Zoom screen on your computer. I will be monitoring the chat during Kate's presentation, and we are going to have time after the presentation to address any questions or comments that you might have. And then I want to add that after the conclusion of today's event, I'll be sending all of those who registered a resource sheet that will include a link to the recorded presentation and links to additional resources that you might find helpful. So, Kate Hare is a River Valley native. She currently lives in Chester and is a member of Chester's Conservation Commission. She's helping get Chester certified through the Sustainable Connecticut organization. And then that's actually how I got to know and become friends with Kate, because members of the Sustainable Essex group are working with our friends in Chester to help move them in their initiative forward. Kate holds college degrees in both design and science from the Fashion Institute of Technology and Rutgers University. She has also taken fine art classes at the Lime Academy and the Maine College of Art. And Kate moved away from this area for education and to gain additional experiences, but now she's back living here in this area, is excited to be involved with her community, and she's sharing her passion for environmental stewardship and creating artwork that's really inspired by our beautiful Connecticut River and this whole beautiful area. Rainier Maria Rilke wrote, "May what I do flow from me like a river, no forcing, no holding back, the way it is with children." Well, I believe that the beauty of the river flows through Kate's art, and it's my pleasure to introduce Kate. Kate, welcome, and thanks. Take it from here. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Beautiful introduction. Mike, thank you for inviting me to do this presentation. I'm very excited to share it with you all. So I'm going to share my screen. And oops. Here we go. The Connecticut River and artist inspiration. This is actually Middle Cove in Essex. I took this photo a few weeks ago, early morning. A beautiful spot by the park in Essex where the sky is beautifully reflected in the water, and it's a really peaceful spot to be, as they all are, right alongside our river. And so, art for the river. My goal is to express the peace and tranquility that our river and other landscapes provide, especially while living in an increasingly fast-paced and internet-focused world, and to communicate the importance of environmental stewardship and connecting with the land around us. So I thought it would be nice to actually have a little moment of sitting by the river, and this will help more fully describe where my inspiration comes from. So I love that, going down to the river and just getting inspiration from the meditative state that's induced by watching the water, listening to it. And it leads to the creation of artwork like this. Actually, the one on the left is a figure study in ink that I did. And then sometimes what I like to do is take those studies and then turn them into a painting that I've pictured in my mind. And this one I pictured with wanting to share the colors that come to mind too when I'm in a really relaxed state by the river and inspired by it and its surroundings. So this drawing and painting is about sitting by the river, looking out at it, and the sense of peace that comes from watching the gentle movement of the water rippling by. In fact, I think it's so interesting, and this has been written about and researched, scientists, environmental psychologists who talk about how looking at the movement of the water and listening to it, there really is a biochemical connection for us, where neurochemicals are released that cause our blood to go to our heart and our brain more, which does induce relaxation. So I think that's very interesting because it really goes to show that we are nature. We're completely connected and a part of nature ourselves. And so it's not just the water, but also the grasses that grow all around the water that inspire me a lot too, for the color, the pattern, the texture, even the movement of the grasses in the wind is also very soothing and calming. And I do particularly love texture. And so then it also leads to the creation of artwork like this, which is intuitive and expressive. And it's really about being loosening up and just letting it flow, like letting just the inspiration directly go through me and come out onto the paper or the silk. Actually, the one on the right is drawing on silk expressively. So that's one way I like to create, and it's actually a helpful exercise to do before I do more representational works, is to loosen up that way, and then it's a little easier to hone in or catch certain shapes for more representational work, such as this one, which is more representational, but it is still loose because that is what I'm going for, is to capture a very light and tranquil scene with the pattern of the grasses, the color fields of the glowing golds and the sky, and keeping it loose and open by not filling in every spot there and leaving the raw pencil marks from the beginning. So it's open. Sometimes I think, and I like to express that it's so true, less can be more. And we have so much information accessible in our world these days. It's nice to have some free space to fill in ourselves and just imagine and just let it be free and open. So I love to portray the river using different styles, gesture drawings, more representational, and sometimes abstract paintings, color fields. I love Rothko. He's definitely an inspiration in addition to others too. And then I also love to work in different mediums. So I love to weave. While I was studying design at FIT, I also took some weaving classes, which I came to love the art of weaving. And I think because I love texture. And so these weavings are completely inspired by the Connecticut River and the landscape, the surrounding landscape. So I was wanting to create this table runner and express the grasses and the river through this weaving. And it's so much fun because it's, well, weaving to me is painting, but using yarns. So it's still a lot of the same design fundamentals with rhythm and color and all of that. And so I also like to do, for woven designs, I like to do these smaller studies, wall hangings, and they're also inspired by the grasses, the plant material, the water, everything in our surrounding area. So they're fun little studies. And again, wall art like painting, but using a more three-dimensional medium. And then this is another, this is a painting that I did using oil paint, and it's around sunset time over in Old Lyme at a location called Watch Rock. It's a beautiful spot. There's often a lot of people kayaking there, and it's a beautiful place for painting because you have some gorgeous, there's a spot, it comes out like a little peninsula. So there's like almost a 360, but not quite, but lots of different views to be inspired by to paint. And lots of the grass is marshland. And it's the estuary area, really, which is a very important part of our river. And so it leads me to get into how all art and all of the art that I create, it really, what's important to me about it too is that it's communication, visual communication, and it can communicate the importance of something such as Connecticut River conservation. And estuaries are so important because they support a diversity of plant and animal species. The protected waters provide vital nesting, breeding, and feeding habitats for these species. And estuaries also filter pollutants out of the water flowing through them, including pesticides, herbicides, and heavy metals. So I think that it's so very important for us to protect our river and the vital role that it plays in protecting us, keeping us and all the life around us healthy. And so on that note, to keep going with a little bit more Connecticut River ecology, because it's so unique. It's such a very special river. And it's so unique because of the fact that the shifting shoals near the mouth of the river are what prevented a lot of development to take place, even, back when the river was first being settled, and as time went on, it was impossible for large ships to navigate these shifting shoals. So that unique geographical environmental situation has protected our area. And I believe it's really important for us to protect it, as I was saying before about estuaries, and the riparian areas are all important environmental features that keep us and our land healthy. An important aspect of every watercourse is its vegetated shoreline or riparian area that serves to provide wildlife habitat, protect and stabilize the shoreline, and removes harmful contaminants before they can enter the water. And so environmental stewardship, I wanted to include this definition, talking about protecting the natural environment through conservation and sustainable practices. Aldo Leopold championed environmental stewardship based on a land ethic dealing with humans' relation to land and to the animals and plants which grow upon it. So because of those important features I was talking about, I do believe it's so important for us to continue all of the work and to support all of the work that is being done to preserve, conserve, protect the river, and to think about environmental stewardship. And going back to Aldo Leopold, who was really a pioneer in ecology and conservation. He was a professor at the University of Wisconsin and taught these courses. And he's also the author of the Sand County Almanac, which actually creating this presentation has inspired me to revisit. So I've started reading that again. And so let's see. So environmental stewardship. And I think that environmental stewardship starts with being aware of and learning about what grows and lives around us in nature. This connects us to our environment and cultivates a sense of place. I think it's really important in today's world to think about that, especially in how we can kind of be anywhere at any time, right? Via the internet, which is so wonderful and amazing. And we're lucky for that too. But I think it's important, and we don't want to forget about how we need to have a respectful relationship with the land right around us and get to know it and think about how important it is. And I really believe this quote, "Nature is not a place to visit, it is home." That's a quote by Gary Snyder, poet laureate of deep ecology. He won a Pulitzer Prize for poetry. And so I've included some of the native plant species: sensitive fern, tulip tree, and there's also the sweet gum tree and the staghorn sumac. And these are all examples of local native tree species. And there are a lot of great things to learn about each of them. And what's interesting for me, also, not just as an environmental advocate, but also an artist, is that I love to experiment with natural dyeing techniques and processes. So another medium and technique that I love to work with is this, and it turns out that our native tree leaves work very well for creating prints on silk. And I've created, these are examples of silk scarves that I've created using plant material. And it's a process that I learned about through reading about the plants and natural dye techniques. So there's the staghorn sumac and the sweet gum leaves you can probably recognize, and even the tulip tree leaves, which is really fun. A friend of mine said that she thinks looking at the leaf, it also sort of looks like angel wings, which was a nice, fun thing to hear when she was looking at my design. And so this is showing part of the process. I mean, I will literally go out with my basket and collect some flowers growing in the garden that I have, or also growing naturally around, and experiment. Not everything works so well. Some things work better than others. Some things don't work at all. But what I'll do is I'll first mordant the fabric, soaking it in a special solution, and then I put the plant material on the fabric directly, and I roll it up and steam it. And though I'm always placing things down with an intention, the result is always somewhat of a surprise. This shows the process a little more up close in my deck in the back of my house, where I do all of this on the picnic table. And it's something I've really grown to love doing. This is my third summer doing this technique, I would say, and I'm still learning about it. And I just love how it literally takes my local surrounding environment and turns it into a piece of artwork that we can then have another direct relationship by wearing it and enjoying it. And it's special in that way. It preserves the plant material and it gives it all a whole nother life. So then these are two 30-inch square pieces of silk that I've dyed plant material on. So they're two finished examples. There are those little orange cosmos flowers that work very well too. They always give me a beautiful orange shade. And these are some other results. The bee balm works really, really well. I always get beautiful red and it stays. The first time I did this, I thought, okay, this is great, but maybe it's just all going to wash out. But it doesn't, it stays on there because I've washed it after the fact a couple of times, let it dry, and it's still there. And that has to do with the mordanting process too, and the tannins of the plant that really do bind with the fibers in such a way that it is permanent. Some things do fade over time, but most of the things, all the things that I use stay. I've just gotten to know what fades and what doesn't work, but I'm still learning. And so then switching back to just take another moment for pause. I just realized I couldn't do this presentation without bringing into it the sunsets and sunrises that we're all really inspired by at our river and all the surrounding waters. I mean, not only is it so beautiful in the sky, but the reflection in the water creates such a beautiful vastness of color fields that just like the movement and the sound of the water, it's all very relaxing and inspiring to look at. The sunsets and sunrise lead me to think about the importance of moments for pause, for breaks from the information overload of modern times, for an opportunity to daydream. And this is a painting that I did that's inspired by sunrise time in the estuary area. And just, I had been taking pictures and drawing and studying this particular spot a lot. And one day I just was really inspired to express it by these color fields that came to mind. And it was also very intuitive. So I didn't really know exactly how it would come out, but this is how it came out. And I think it really does convey the quiet morning peacefulness that I was hoping to create. And this is a painting that I did using gouache on paper, and it's sunset time. This is actually in Centerbrook at Falls River, sitting out, looking out at the sunset view of the waters. And it's this time of the year, which I thought would be it would be a fun one to share. It's this time of the year when you're sitting out at the very end of the night and then listening to the sounds, the tree frogs and the beetles and all the insects going on, listening to that night symphony and looking at this view. And this is a painting, another gouache on paper. Gouache I really like. It can be used like watercolor, but it's also can be opaque like acrylic paints. And I think they have beautiful vibrancy, and I love color. And vibrancy and contrast. So I loved this view. This is from the Deep River docks in Deep River, watching a beautiful moonrise. And the moon was just so bright, and the sky and the water were all so blue. And I really wanted to express and share my a version of that I was really inspired by. And so that's that one. And then just starting to come to the end of this, I like to come back to a definition of the river: a large natural stream of water flowing, a place where there is calm, reflection, connection, adventure, and inspiration, a place that heals and fortifies the human spirit, a natural resource to be respected and protected. That's based on the actual definition of a river, with my editing, adding a little bit. And so I want to do my part to give back and protect our river and its surroundings. And I hope you will too. And I also meant to say, sometimes I do just like to really bring it back to very simple things, simple definitions, and then you can kind of go with it and run with it and add to it the way you want to. But I think sometimes it's helpful to just go back to the very simple versions and meanings of things and revisit them. And so I took a few videos of going down to the river, sitting by the water, and I put together this this for us. So I thought that we can enjoy this. And so that is my presentation, everyone. So I think we could open it up to some questions now or discussion.
Yeah.
I may have finished a little sooner. I may have talked a little faster than I meant to, but.
That's okay, Kate. Thank you, Kate, so much. This has been such a wonderful presentation. I don't see any comments yet in chat, but I just want to offer a couple of my own observations from a purely selfish standpoint. Kate and I have worked hard. Kate has done all the work. I mean, I've been involved in just talking about logistics with her, but every time I've seen this generation and the way it's developed, it's really a poem. And I really am so moved by how Kate's art, it's all from here. And there's such a sense of place in her art that really is extraordinary. She speaks so eloquently about being mindful of our surroundings, pausing, breathing, being at peace with it, being one with it. And it's really special, and it really, I think, comes through in our art. And one editorial thing I'll just say is that this river valley, the whole estuary area, the whole watershed, it is such a treasure for us. And so much of what Sustainable Essex is involved in, with our friends in Chester. I see our buddy Rick Holloway on with us today, with our buddy in Chester, and Rick and Kate, friends of ours in Deep River, Old Saybrook, Old Lyme. Our committee works with a lot of different groups, and really it's about protecting this watershed, because you want to be able to have what's here always available for not just us, but for our kids. and for our grandkids. So sometimes doing a presentation like this, pausing and stepping back, really kind of informs why we work so hard at protecting this area. So I do see some chat coming in. Let me pull some up here. This is from our friend Katie. She said, I really like the natural dyeing of silks. Do you see the colors change over time, like oxidation of the green leaves to brown? So Kate.
Actually, no, they do stay, once the process is done. I mean, it changes in the steaming process, but once it's all finished, and they've been washed and dried and ironed, the colors are permanent. They stay the way they are.
Okay.
Yeah, it can be a little affected by pH. Like I was just thinking about the washing process, and I do use a very, very mild detergent because the pH can definitely affect the way the colors are, brighter greens or a duller green or a more brown green. But once they're done, they're permanent.
We've got a small enough group here so that if any one of you wanted to unmute yourself to ask a question or offer a comment, I think that would be fine. And I'll just pause for a moment and see if there's anyone who wants to offer any verbal comments or ask questions that way. Okay. Well, this has been just, it's been wonderful. It's been something I've really needed today. And I just love sitting in front of this. I'm going to let this thing stay on my computer screen, I think, all afternoon. This has been so great, Kate. Thank you so much again. For everyone, I just want to let you know that a resource sheet will be sent to everyone who registered for this event, whether or not you were able to attend or not today. That resource sheet is going to have a link to the recording. It's also going to provide some additional resources that Kate felt that might be helpful to all of you. So we hope to get that out within the next several days. Sometimes it takes a while to download the recording and clean it up a little bit, but we'll get that to you as quickly as possible. And also we'll make the recording of this presentation available through the Sustainable Essex website. And we'll provide a link to that website also on our resource sheet that we'll be getting. Also want to let you know that our next seed event is coming up pretty quickly. That takes place on Tuesday, August 17th at 12 noon. And that's going to shift gears and cover some information regarding the forthcoming Essex Source to Sea Cleanup Day, which is going to be a big event for this whole area. That'll take place in early fall. We're still making some final tweaks with the plan. There's been a planning team working on this, but we're working very, very hard with both the Connecticut River Conservancy, the Connecticut River Museum, and the Essex Land Trust on that. And that's going to be a fun event. And this seed event that's going to occur on August 17th will provide, will be the beginning of providing details, you know, for how that'll work, how you can take part, etc. But it ought to be a fun day. We'll cross our fingers for good weather, but we will look at a rain date if it's just not, you know, safe to be out there in bad weather. And but we'll have a lot of that information for you on the 17th. So look, check out, check your inboxes for an invitation to that. Also, our website will have that information, and check our Facebook page, and links to all of those resources will be on the resource sheet. A couple of folks have sent in some chat thanking you, Kate, for the presentation. It's very calming. Rick, I agree with you. As I said, I think I want to keep this little video up on my screen for the rest of the day. But maybe my new screensaver. I don't know. I'll have to figure that out. But anyway, I do want to thank all of you for supporting us, joining in today. It's very gratifying. We love putting on these seed events. We hope to build out this programming over time and make it available, make it something that we do every day, every year rather. So with that, if there are no other questions, thanks once again, Kate. Thank you for really an extraordinary presentation, and thank you for your advocacy for our river valley, both through your artwork and through your other efforts with the Conservation Commission and the work that you're doing with Sustainable Essex and Sustainable Deep River and all the partnership that you've done. It's really been great. Rick, thanks to you for those same things. So with that, then I wish everybody a real great rest of the day. I think it's going to be a nice weekend, I think, hopefully.
It looks like it.
Yeah,
It looks like it.
but
And I just,
everybody, go ahead, Kate, go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh, excuse me. I just wanted to jump in though and say thank you so much to everyone too. I really appreciate, it was a really special experience for me to put all of this together. And I have to say, it's really, the process has me thinking about new ideas and new work that I'd like to create. And so I thank you all for all of that and for attending today. I look forward to doing something like this again, and I love it. I grew up here, and I've learned a lot. I have a great education and experiences behind me, and it's important to me now to give back to my community and the environment. It's really important, and I believe there's a lot we can do as individuals and organizations together. So.
Great.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Kate. Take care, everyone. Have a safe rest of the week, and we'll be back and see you hopefully all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.